المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. So it gives us great honor. My name is Pervez Rostam. I serve at the Muslim Center of Greater Princeton, a masjid in Princeton, and gives us great honor to bring an esteemed panel of experts here, starting with Brother Hamzah and Brother Hamzah and Brother Hamzah Henshaw and Brother Omer Elsyed, and Sister Amira Rehawi. Brother Omer Elsyed will be moderating the event, so he will do the rundown of the bios and the introduction. But I just wanted to start off by welcoming everybody, and inshallah this will be beneficial to everybody, and hopefully not the last time we do this. This is the very first time we do it. College planning and financing. We wanted to bring these experts to share the intelligence out there in the community. Given the college planning process is very intricate and could also be very expensive, and also given the student loan crisis that we have in this country, we wanted to provide avenues and explore and share avenues where our people can actually attend schools that they wish without having the hindrance of non-halal options. So with that, Jazakallah khair, I'll pass it to Brother Omar, who will manage the event for the rest of the evening. Jazakallah khair.
It's a delight to meet you all. Thank you all for joining. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Omer Elsyed. I'm the program manager for an organization called ISF, the Islamic Scholarship Fund. I'm happy to be on this panel and moderating. Was asked by Brother Parvez to join to help move things forward. It's my understanding that Brother Hamzah will be starting us off. And after some thought and after some discussion right before this, we've decided to ask everyone to just introduce themselves. Is that all right with you, Brother Hamzah?
Sure, that's fine.
So I'm just going to pass it over to you and you can help us get started.
Hi, Bismillah. Jazakallah khair. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Hope that it all works. Let's go up to the top. Is that looking okay for everyone? Okay, Bismillah. So my name is Hamzah Henshaw, as it says, and just wanted to start with 5 facts about me. So Hamzah, I became Muslim back in 1994 at the age of 15. So I was a student at a boarding school outside of Boston. I went on and I graduated from Harvard in 2001, and I studied NELC, which stands for Near Eastern Languages and Civilizations. So sort of Arabic, Middle Eastern history, also did some economics. I started my career in Islamic finance and getting to know Dr. Amir Rahman, who's a big community member there in Princeton for all the local people. But then pretty early on in my career, I switched over towards education. So I have more than 20 years of experience as an educator. The last 10 years, I've been at Al Noor Academy, which is the first and most established Muslim high school or K through 12 school in New England. And Hamza, among my many roles there, has been to be director of college placement, and I've helped place hundreds of Muslim students at many of the country's top colleges. A few other things. I write a popular Substack called 5 Before 5 newsletter, and I founded this company 5 Before College earlier this year, and our mission is to help Muslims maximize their ROI, their return on investment of their college investment in this world and the next. So I want to start just by looking at a few of the specific challenges that Muslims have when it comes to this whole college process. So many parents did not go to American universities, and they don't really understand the nuances of the application system. MashaAllah, they're very well educated. Many of them are professionals themselves, but because they didn't go here, they feel sort of at a disadvantage when it comes to that. There's not a lot of high quality college content designed for a Muslim audience. So obviously Muslims, when they're thinking about college, are maybe thinking about other things. What's the MSA like? Do they have a Muslim chaplain? What's halal food like on campus? And then when they're talking about financing, our main topic today, things about, trying to avoid interest-bearing loans and other things like that. Obviously, there are fears of Islamophobia, and we can see what's going on college campuses now with this horrible situation in Gaza, and how the people who are mashallah taking a stand are facing consequences for that. And so people might be afraid to talk openly about their Islam or not know whether they should. As I mentioned, we have limited Sharia compliant financing options. And then I think students also feel a lot of pressure to go down a few well-trodden paths: medicine, engineering, law, those kinds of things. There's a lot of pressure on them to go in those paths. So I started 5 before college, and I'm just going to give a very brief overview of what it's all about. First of all, the name 5 before college, it has two meanings. First of all, the reality of college prep is most people start way too late. One of the things that the wealthy people and the people who understand this world is they know that preparing for college doesn't start your junior or senior year. It really starts way before that. And I put a number on it, 5 years before that. So 5 before college is really about starting to prepare for college way back when you're in 8th grade, right? Because 8th grade, you're figuring out where to go to high school. And it's sort of like the PSAT. It's like a practice year to get ready. And once you hit 9th grade, that's when your Hisab has started, your mukallif, the colleges are going to see everything you did from 9th grade, and they're really looking at a 4-year snapshot or a 4-year picture of who you were as a student. The other reason I chose 5 before college and my Substack 5 before 5 is because I love this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, take benefit of 5 before 5. Your youth before your old age, your health before your sickness, your wealth before your poverty, your free time before your busyness, and your life before your death. So this hadith has always been one of the most beautiful, that talks about sort of Islam and productivity and how to take advantage of our time here in the dunya. And so I sort of mapped those things onto the high school experience. So what does it mean for a youth to take advantage of for a student to take advantage of their youth before their old age? Right? As a student, that's your full-time job, right? So really, this is where academics come in, right? And the single key to academics, in my opinion, is reading. People who read are, mashallah, they're just off the charts academically. We have to take advantage of our health before our sickness by engaging in athletics. I think one of the major things lacking at many Islamic schools is interscholastic sports teams and things like that. We also have to have mental health, right? The wellness and so on. Wealth before poverty, that's really what we're talking about today. We're talking about financing college and scholarships and saving money for college. But also, this is where I talk about, exploring internships and helping Muslims, mashallah, like the work that Brother Omar does of getting Muslims launched in their careers and so on. Free time before busyness, this is where we look at extracurriculars, and then also our suhbah, our friendship. And finally, life before death, this is where the spiritual side, that ultimately the most important thing is our character and our faith. These are the things we're tested by, and even within the college process, these are the things that colleges really look at. So Hamza, I've had a lot of success placing students into college. Just earlier today, one of my 5 before college clients let me know that they had gotten into UPenn. So excited about that. And Hamza, one of my other students just got a full ride at Notre Dame, and so it's very, very exciting. I love this time of year. The good news is great. Obviously, I know there's a lot of other situations too, but inshallah, everyone will find a great place. So the main thing today we want to talk about is obviously financial aid. So I wanted to give sort of an overview of this whole topic. So there are really 4 types of financial aid. There's need-based financial aid, merit-based, private aid, and strategic aid. Right? So need-based, as you would imagine, is based purely on your family's finances as revealed through these forms that you fill in, the FAFSA, which is the federal form, and the CSS profile, which is a much more in-depth look at a family's finances that most private colleges require. Then there's merit aid. So merit aid is offered by colleges themselves. And we'll talk a lot more about how and why colleges deploy merit aid. But at least as it's spoken, it's to reward people for their hard work and so on. Private aid is where things like scholarships come up, and strategic aid are strategies that you can use to try to limit your financial burden. So again, this is a similar slide. So when we talk about need-based aid, these are where the grants come in. Okay, if you ever are offered a grant, you should always take it. It means it's free money, right? So when a college gives you a grant, or the Pell Grant that the government provides, this is all free money, and it's usually based on your need. Then you have the merit-based aid. Right, these are things like President's Scholarship, Dean's Scholarship. When you get your admissions letter in your financial aid package, you'll see things like this, and they'll often take off, $20,000 per year from your, tuition, right? So they can be pretty significant. Private aid, of course, are scholarships and things like this, and again, we'll talk more about all of these things. And then there's strategic aid. So strategic aid, I think, is the one that the average person going through this process doesn't necessarily know as much about, right? So when you fill in the FAFSA and you fill in CSS, sometimes the way you choose to answer some of those questions can have a dramatic impact on what they say your family can afford. I heard a story of someone who their expected family contribution, in other words, what they thought the family could pay, went from $50,000 per year down to $10,000 per year by changing one line item on that form, right? And there are a lot of other things that you can do in order to reduce the cost of college, and this is where real college experts and coaches can give the most help. So I think the overall picture, you need to understand that colleges are of two types. There are the sellers and there are the buyers. Okay, it's sort of like a real estate thing. So the sellers are the really famous colleges, the top name brands, the Ivy League schools, those sorts of things. They have tons and tons of applicants and very, very few spots. Right? This is where so much of the something like 97% of students go to a college with an acceptance rate higher than 30%. Right, so the vast majority of students are going to not going to these types of colleges, but everyone is fighting for spots at these. Because they have way more applicants than they can possibly admit, they do not need to discount their tuition. So depending on your family situation, if you get into one of these sellers, if you get into an Ivy League school, if you come from an affluent family, you'll pretty much almost certainly have to pay the full tuition or close to it. On the other hand, if you come from a family of limited means, right, then there's a chance that you won't have to pay any money for those schools. Importantly, those schools don't take their need blind. They don't take into consideration whether you need financial aid when they're making their decisions. Okay, which is different than many other schools where the ability to pay actually is one of the reasons that you might get into the school. On the other hand, most colleges are buyers. So these are colleges that are a little bit less well known, right? In order to attract students, they really do need to discount their tuition, right? So they have high sticker prices, right? The sticker price of some schools is up close to $70,000 these days, right? And so these types of colleges, they might not be that high, but they're in the 50s or something like that. But the reality is almost no one or very, very few people are paying the full sticker price, right? They're paying a fraction of that because these buyer colleges, in order to get you to come there as opposed to another college, are going to give you grants and other things, other scholarships, merit aid, they call it, but really they're just discounts, right? It's sort of a trick that they play. It's sort of what car dealers do, you know, when they say there's a big blowout bonanza sale. And the reality is that, you know, the sale price is actually the real price, and so on. It's sort of a sales trick. So sellers tend to have acceptance rates of less than 30%, right? And so on. So if even if your family can afford to pay the full tuition, many people would prefer not to have a $70,000 line item on their budget, right? So and again, it depends on your student and so on, but it makes a lot of sense to apply to both sellers and buyers when you're building your list. You know, especially those families that might have to pay full freight, they might consider you know, some of these other schools and so on. So I just wanted to go over some strategies for saving for college. So one thing is just to start really early. Okay, we say start 5 before college. For saving for college, 5 before college is not enough, right? You really, as soon as you get the good news that you're having a baby, that's when to start thinking. Because if you do that and you set aside a little bit of money every month, it can have a tremendous difference. It can make a tremendous difference, especially when invested well and so on. It's a great thing, you know, if your parents or your grandparents are able to donate small amounts of money. That's one of the best gifts that they can give. So one of the ways that people do that is through something called the 529 savings plan. So you may have heard of this, or maybe it's brand new. Now, I do want to acknowledge that there are some Sharia concerns with these. These are investment accounts, but they have a mixture of equities and bonds, right? And you know, there are issues with the Sharia compliance of bonds, and unfortunately, you don't really have the ability within a 529 to change that mixture and so on. At the same time, there are lots of you know, reasons, benefits, and reasons that people use these. There's no contribution limits. There are no income restrictions. There's no age limit. So, you know, at the extreme, a 40-year-old who wants to go back and get another degree could still use money from a 529. They can be transferred. So if your own children don't use all the money, they could pass it on to their children, or you know, if your older child doesn't finish that money, they can pass it to their sibling, and so on. And up to $10,000 can be applied to private school. So, and it's a tax advantage program. So you could send your children to an Islamic school or to a private school and reduce the cost that way. There are also education savings accounts. These have a lot more restrictions. I won't go through all the details there. Some other sort of out-of-the-box type strategies, especially, you know, if a family has the means to do this, one thing that people do is they'll actually buy real estate. They'll buy a house where their son or daughter will live if they're living you know, on campus. Obviously, the cost of dorms is extremely high, but even more, living off campus, renting isn't great. If you're able to buy a larger house and have that rent money come in, which covers the mortgage, it might even be a source of income. You know, and some families keep them as an investment property, you know, well into the future. So it's an interesting model for people who can do that. Obviously, not a choice for many people. Another way to cut down on costs is just to go to college for fewer years, and the best way to do that is to get a lot of college credits when you're in high school. So through dual enrollment and APs. So at Al-Noor, students take all of their secular classes through their dual enrollment. And they're often able, depending on where they go to college, to graduate within 2.5 to 3 years. They often have a master's 4 years out. People always ask, okay, how do I get a full ride? So a full ride is like you're not paying any money, right? So this is not the easiest thing in the world. But if you one way, if you have high need at a highly rejective school, what that means is if you come from a family of very limited means and you get into a top school, so if you get into I forget the exact number, but if you get into Harvard and your family's making something like less than $70,000 or $80,000, something like that, you don't pay a single penny to go to those schools. So that's obviously a very difficult thing to do, but that is one way to get a full ride. Being a National Merit Scholar, which you qualify by through your PSAT in your 11th grade year, this is a way to get really significant aid at certain institutions. Obviously, if you're an incredible athlete, you can get a full ride. I think one of the best ways is to be a big fish in a small pond. So what that means is rather than only applying to the brand name schools, if you apply to some other schools who've never really seen a student quite like you, maybe your stats and your overall persona are higher than what they expect. You have a really big personality, they're going to fight to get you on campus, and sometimes they'll give you up to a full ride or lots and lots of money to try to entice you to come. And then, of course, there's scholarships. So scholarships are a complicated topic. So there are different types of scholarships. So there's institutional scholarships. So some of those, is that merit aid that I was talking about before. You get that without having to apply specifically for it. When you submit your application, the colleges, whether you apply for financial aid or you don't, they'll often give you this merit aid. However, colleges also have separate scholarships, and you should go onto the college websites. And often these are things that are competitive that you have to apply for, but oftentimes they're really, really significant. Other types of scholarships are local scholarships. Okay, so the best scholarships after the college-specific scholarships, because those have the most money, are local scholarships. Those are things like right in your hometown or right in your area. For us within the Muslim community, they might be like Muslim specific scholarships. Most of these things happen really your senior year. And then, of course, there are the private scholarships, right? And there are thousands and thousands. There are billions of dollars worth of scholarships out there, but those are quite complicated, right? In order to really do that, you need to have a system. Someone said it was like, cleaning your room. Like, almost no teenager is going to clean their room without being asked. Similarly, I've told people about scholarships so many times. I do a whole unit on it with my students. Only a very, very small handful of them have the perseverance to actually go through and search through all these different scholarship aggregators and things like that and try to find things. So a couple tips around that. One is setting aside time to actually look for these scholarships. So for example, every Saturday morning you do that, or changing your routine, right? At a time when you were going to go on to TikTok or some sort of social media, set a timer for 20 minutes and go on to Scholarly or Going Merry or FastWeb or any of these other scholarship platforms and search through them and start creating a database of scholarships. In terms of finding particular scholarships, one of the best pieces of advice is to create a noun list, right? So you think about yourself and you start writing down all the nouns that apply to you. Pakistani, female, interested in, biodiversity, and just any other quality that you have, really, really dig deep, brainstorm, because then you can use those as search terms to find scholarships that might apply to you. The assembly line concept is that parents can be involved in this, right? Parents can do some of the searching for scholarships and sort of have an agreement. If I find a scholarship for you, will you apply for it? Creating a system, a shared Google sheet with different stakeholders, and then applying as you go. Don't wait until you've built up a huge database of scholarships. Just start applying. So, and the other thing is write your essays early. Write your essays. If ideally you can finish your college essays and even your supplements in the summer, then you're just going to be recycling a lot of those same essays when you're applying to scholarships. Once you've gotten the hang of it, it's actually quite easy. you send off, and you get $500 here, $1,000 here, but it starts to really add up. All right, so I am going to share this whole document with you so that you have a link to all these resources. So as soon as I'm done speaking, I'll do that. But this is just a master list of college resources. There's tons of great stuff in here. I'm not going to click on the links. But one thing, I put together a list of college internships and different summer programs that many Muslim students have done. There's a lot of great stuff from the College Essay Guy, who's an amazing resource, around college. There's a whole ebook here. These are the scholarship aggregators that I was mentioning before. There's stuff about building a list. So I think that's just about that. Just in terms of very, very briefly, I know I've already taken a lot of time, but in terms of 5 before college, if you're interested in learning more, we have a WhatsApp group. I can also put the link to these things. In my Substack, I talk about college stuff frequently. We have a mini course about 5 Muslim college essays that worked, where I put together 5 really amazing essays written by Muslims and my students. We do group coaching masterclasses. So the next one that's coming up is actually a study skills and productivity masterclass about how to get barakah in our academic study time. I do webinars like this, virtual things. And then there's, of course, one-on-one coaching, and there's also in-person workshops at schools or at Islamic centers, and then, different PD and so on. And then very last thought, when we talk about college, it tends to bring out a lot of the worst in Bani Adam. It's like we become very like materialistic and so on, but it really doesn't have to be that way. We need to remember ultimately that, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut, wa innama tuwaffawna ujurakum yawm al-qiyamah, فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. Right, so the real dukhul, the real acceptance that we want is the acceptance into Jannah. If we reach Jannah, then we have gotten complete success. Right? So with this college process, you go through all of this and you put so much effort. Sometimes, the results that you were hoping for come out, sometimes they don't, right? But we need to remember the hadith, Ajaba li amr al-mu'min, I'm amazed by the matter of the mu'min. Whatever happens to them is good. Right? If something good happens, they give shukr, and if something bad happens, they make sabr, and either way they get rewarded from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So most people, I give the example of chasing their shadow, right? That they're always chasing after college, and they're putting these material goals as their goals in life. And if you chase your shadow is always going to be one step in front of you. So the way to solve this is to turn away from that and to turn towards the nur of Islam, right? And toward the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then what happens is the shadow comes following. Right, the whole 5 before college idea is that when we bring Islam fully into our lives, then we're going to be remarkable college candidates, and colleges are going to come running after us and enticing us with money and all these other things, right? Our GPA and where you went to college, these are not things we get asked about on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So I think it's just important to keep that perspective as we talk about this topic. So Jazakallah khair, sorry for taking so much time, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of you, inshallah.
Ameen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for the amazing presentation. Really appreciated you going through it. It was like a blast from the past for me, and my college admission scenario, learning about all of the different aid that is available, as well as grants and also scholarships. But also was interesting to see the Islamic twist on it there at the end. Really appreciated the reminder. Almost like the concept of husn al-dhan, expecting good from Allah, and being patient with whatever Allah may have in store for us, and thankful for that. So really appreciate that, Brother Hamzah. I think we're right on schedule. I'm going to pass it over to Sister Amira. Sister Amira is a career college counselor, or a high school college counselor, and she'll be up next.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Omar. Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure to be here tonight on this panel. Jazakallah khairan to Brother Parvez at the MCGP for putting this together and sending us invitations. I will give a brief background about myself. So I worked in the education field since 2006 in the public schools. I started at Nur Ul-Iman High School, Nur Ul-Iman School in 2019. I've been working there for about 6 years. Nur Ul-Iman is a private Islamic school. Mashallah, our principal, teachers, staff there are amazing. We're like one big family. My passion is working and helping young adults. I really enjoy my job. I enjoy working with students. Our students are a pleasure to work with, and that's all. I will jump right into how I work with students and get them ready for college and beyond. The first thing I ask my students, I tell them, what do you think college admissions committees are looking for in your college application? So the major things that college committees and college representatives do look for are they're called hard factors and soft factors. So hard factors would be, first, they look at grades, test scores, course rigor, class rank, and the strength of the school. The soft factors would be essays, extracurricular activities, recommendation letters, interviews, and demonstrated interests. So I will share my PowerPoint to give you a brief overview of how I work with students from 9th to 12th grade. Okay. Oh, it's not letting me move the slide. Let me see.
While Sister Amira works this out, I just wanted to remind everyone that the Q&A function is available. So if you have questions or comments about, for each of the speakers, they're all staying here until the end, so that we will be having a Q&A session at the very end if you'd like to have those questions answered. I haven't seen any questions entered yet, so I just wanted to remind that if anyone has any issues with it, please do let us know. Sister Amira, did you want to just proceed like this?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so let's explore why early college planning is crucial for high school students. One, early planning for college ensures a clear roadmap, reducing uncertainty and stress associated with last-minute decisions. Setting realistic goals and milestones allows for effective time management and enabling a balanced approach to academics and extracurricular activities. Taking these proactive steps creates a foundation for success, fostering a sense of control and confidence throughout the college preparation process. On the other hand, if students procrastinate in high school and lack early college planning, it can hinder their academic achievement, limit opportunities, and increase stress during college applications. So this would be the benefits and the drawbacks. I'll go over them really quickly. Early goal setting is very helpful. Holistic skill development, exploration of interests, building a competitive profile, maximizing opportunities. And the drawbacks would be they would have limited academic achievement, reduced college options, increased stress, missed extracurricular opportunities, inadequate test preparation. So basically how I help students starting from 9th grade, they start focusing on having good grades, mainly maintaining a good GPA 9, 10, and 11th grade, because they will know that colleges look at your junior year transcript in their senior year. This is continued limited exploration of interest. For the drawbacks, students get burnt out, delayed personal development, impact of recommendations. When students ask the teachers for last-minute recommendations, those recommendations are not going to be strong. And narrowed career pathways, which is delaying college planning and exposure to different career options. Okay, this is how I worked with the 9th and 10th graders. I work with students to lay the foundation for a successful college application process by helping them develop strong academic skills, set clear goals, and explore their interests and options. This early preparation can benefit students as they move closer to the college application process in their junior and senior year. So they will be introduced to college preparation, study skills and time management, know the importance of extracurricular activities. We talk about PSAT prep in 9th grade, where they take it in 10th and 11th, career exploration. I keep reviewing their academic progress. We do college research, resume building, talk about college entrance exams, the college application timeline, scholarship information, and also every student gets individualized college counseling. Okay. Junior year, 11th grade, is the most important year for high school students. During junior year, students must start strong and end strong academically to maintain a high GPA score. Colleges will receive final junior year grades first when college applications are submitted in their senior year. Here, I guide students through the complex college application process, helping them make well-informed decisions and ultimately pave the way for a smooth transition into higher education. So with the juniors, we start with course planning. They select their challenging courses. They may be in honors. They take APs. They know the importance of honors and APs and how much it weighs in on their GPA. We talk about and register for SATs, ACTs, college exploration. We create college lists, look at different colleges, college visits, financial aid information from the New Jersey Higher Education Student Assistance Authority. We have somebody from HESA come visit our juniors and seniors every year to talk about the financial aid process. We do scholarship exploration in class, and we just created a scholarship club at Nur Ul-Iman. They do resume building with their English teacher, college essay guidance. We also have someone who helps them with their essays, letters of recommendations. They're told early to request those early so teachers have time, and they have a college application timeline. Okay. Yes, I missed the slide. Okay. During senior year, I work with students on a weekly basis in our college planning class by covering college planning through the National Association for College Admissions Counseling. This program is called Step-by-Step College Awareness and Planning. It is a 12-week curriculum that helps put students on a successful path to college attainment and graduation. And then from September to December of their senior year, we extend invitations out to college representatives to visit with NUI students. During these sessions, representatives from institutions such as Princeton University, Barnard, NUI, Drexel, NJIT, TCNJ, and more engage with our students. They discuss essential aspects of the college application process. They shed light on what their respective colleges seek in students and offer insights into qualities that make applicants stand out to college admissions representatives. These informative sessions aim to assist our students in narrowing down their choices and make informed decisions about the colleges they wish to attend. At this stage, I help the students in our college planning class with their Common App application, I upload their transcripts, their letters of recommendation. They do finalize their college choices. They usually apply to like more than 10 colleges, but they do narrow down their colleges to like a 5 or 6 in the end. We prepare for the college interviews in class. We conduct mock interviews. We do have financial aid guidance where a speaker comes and talks to, well, actually we're doing it virtually now. So they talk to students virtually and they help them and guide them for the financial aid. Test preparation, I provide guidance on standardized testing, even though some schools are test optional now. And career counseling, which helps seniors explore career paths, aligning academic interests with future goals. And that is the end. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to email me.
Thank you so much,
That's the
Sister Amira.
email
Really
address.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
There were some folks that were having a little bit of difficulty seeing the slides. So are you comfortable with having these slides be available to
Oh, yes,
attendees afterwards? Great. Okay, awesome.
sure.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I believe, although he wasn't here earlier on, he was able to join us. I believe Brother Faizan, who's the executive director of a continuous charity. It's a pleasure to meet you. First off, it's our first time meeting. Heard a lot about you and the amazing work KCC does. So just to keep in mind, I don't think there will be too many questions at the end, but we want to leave some time for Q&A. And we've got maybe we can leave 15 minutes for Q&A. And 15 minutes for you to speak, inshallah.
Inshallah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wa salatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Great to be here, and thank you for inviting me to come and speak today. I think the other two presenters did a fantastic, phenomenal job of presenting, especially when it comes to applying for scholarships, paying for higher education, and answering a lot of questions that young people have. So I'm not going to go over a lot of what they covered. Rather, I'm going to go over a different aspect of higher education, which is really debt and the concept of the debt that a lot of students have when they go into college. A little about myself, my name is Faizan Syed. I'm the co-founder of A Continuous Charity Foundation, and it's the first Muslim charity that deals with higher education and promotes the higher education of Muslim students by providing interest-free educational loans for students to go to college and get their higher education. A Continuous Charity is not a bank or anything like that. Rather, all we are is we're revitalizing the prophetic sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ by creating community-funded educational loans. What that is just exactly how it sounds. We go into the Muslim community, we raise funds, we pool those funds together, and then we use those funds to loan it to students all across the United States. And then we get into legally binding contracts with those students to make sure that they pay back their loans. And as the students pay back their loans, it becomes a sadaqah jariyah in the sense that as the students pay back their loans, we recycle that money and then we loan it to the next student and to the next student and the next student, creating a sadaqah jariyah, a continuous charity. Alhamdulillah, when we first started this charity 10 years ago, we raised about $60,000 and helped about 4 or 5 students. And I remember when I traveled around the country and we tried to educate people about A Continuous Charity and the concept of it, I remember having a lot of people really criticizing the organization, saying that, what's $60,000 going to accomplish? That, my son or my daughter has more than $60,000 worth of debt. I think that where that comes from within the Muslim community is that I think a lot of people have been burned so many times when talking about a lot of these issues. So there really is a sense of nothing's going to change and things are kind of the way they are. Alhamdulillah, 10 years later, now we've been able to go from $60,000 and now this year we're at over $7 million that we've been able to loan out to students all across the United States. Out of that $7 million, we've been able to get almost $3 million of that repaid to us. So mashallah, is a really good number. We have about 98% of our students that are in the process of repaying their loans. And the main number that I want really everybody here to memorize, because it deals with an Islamic concept of riba and interest and the challenges of it, is that we've been able to save the Muslim community about $3.4 million in interest that they would have paid if they took out conventional loans. And that's just with about 510 or so students. And the reason I mention these numbers, especially for a lot of the young people who are listening, is that one of the traps that a lot of young people get into is that we really, at the age of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $80,000, $100,000. These are all just random numbers that have very little to no meaning for a lot of people. And I think for young people, especially, the way that the higher education system is designed in America is to push education, push experience, and not really push creating good, strong financial decisions for young people. So a lot of Muslims will go to college out of peer pressure, out of trying to make their parents happy, out of trying to make their community happy, or trying to seem like, hey, I'm important too, just like my cousins were important as well. And what they do is they go into schooling, they go into a degree or a field that maybe they're really not that passionate about or interested in. They're just doing it kind of out of the peer pressure of their parents or family. And what ends up happening is they get into tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt with interest-bearing loans on it. A short activity, I'm not going to take too long, inshallah. So I'm just going to do a short activity just to kind of show everybody this as well. So let me share my screen. So I'm gonna share my screen here, and I want everybody, this is something you can just go on Google and you can find it online very easily. All you need to do is go onto Google and type in basically student loan calculator, and they'll take you to this website right here from Smart Assets, but there are a lot of really great websites out there as well. The average cost of undergraduate right now is about let's say about $35,500, but let's just probably put in $35,000 here. So this is a really cool tool because what you can do is you can type in the loan amount that you have. You can type in the interest rate, which is about 5.5% right now. And let's say the average person paying back takes about 15 years to pay back their loans. When you type in all of these numbers into this calculator, which I encourage every young person to do before they go to college and really understand the debt that they're getting into, is that you'll see I took a $35,000 loan. This is the interest rate, and this is the years. After you pay back your loan, you're actually paying back almost $51,000 of your loan from the $35,000. And this is an important number. So that's for undergraduate. If you go into a master's program, which is about $70,000 to $100,000, or a medical program, those numbers really start adding up quite quickly as well. Particularly for $100,000 or things, it might take 20 years paying it back. So if you take $100,000 worth of debt, you're going to end up paying $165,000 over that 20-year period. Many young people, what happens is that when they go to school and they graduate, for many years, they can only pay off the minimum amount, or sometimes they even get into default and they're not able to pay it back. I think for young people especially, and their parents, there needs to be a few things that are done. As you're choosing what college you want to get to, as you're applying for scholarships, as you're applying for merit-based or different types of scholarships that are out there trying to choose your degree, make sure that the cost of education is really understood by yourself and by your family as well. I think for many parents and even young people, this is a very challenging topic to talk about. It's not easy to sit down with your high school kids and really kind of lay out the numbers and see if you get accepted to this school, this is how much you're going to pay for the 4 years, how much your degree is going to cost. I think that needs to definitely be done, because we at Aid Continuous Charities here all the time, students who go to college, they get their degrees, but they might change after 2 years, or they might spend several years longer in those degrees, and then they just end up with this mountain of debt. Now, one thing that many people have to understand is that the nature of the Muslim community in America, at least, is that typically when people go to college, once they graduate, they're then looking at their next stage of life. And the next stage of life is obviously trying to get married, trying to start a family, have a house, and these type of things. So what happens is that many young people, you and your spouse more than likely will both have student debt. When both the spouse have student debt and then they get married, then they try to buy a house and try to go these other stages in life. What happens is creates sort of this runaway effect of debt within our community, that people are living, mashallah, they're married, they have kids, they have a house. From the outside looking in, they seem that they're very stable and financially doing well. However, actually is built off of debt, and that creates a lot of stress on the family, creates a lot of stress on that relationship, and it has a host of problems. So long story short, at Aid Continuous Charity, we have several workshops on our website, on our YouTube channel, that specifically talks about debt. There's different ways on how to reduce your overall debt as you plan to go into college, how to make financial choices based on the degrees you want to study that allow you to still study your degrees, but maybe not spend as much on those degrees. Or sinkholes, as I mentioned by Hamzah earlier, that staying on campus is very expensive. Doing the meal plans on campus is very expensive. Buying new textbooks are very expensive. There's a whole host of economic, I don't want to call them traps, but I don't have a better word for it, economic sinkholes that exist within the higher education that are really designed to take as much money from young people at that early age of 18, 19, 20, 21, where people don't really understand what they're signing up for, what the expense is. I think it's important for everybody, especially as you're preparing for college, be mindful of interest, specifically riba-based interest that's out there when taking out loans. But in addition, be mindful of just your overall debt and have a realistic understanding of how long it's going to take you to get out of that debt. So with that, I'm going to pause, inshallah. I think there's a lot of questions that are going to be asked, so I'll be more than happy to answer those questions as well.
Sure, we'll jump into the Q&A in just a moment. I just want to thank you, Brother Faizan. Appreciate you starting that conversation, and I think it complements really well what both Sister Amira and Brother Hamzah were saying. I've been asked by Brother Parvez to speak on behalf of the organization that I work with, which is the Islamic Scholarship Fund. So before we jump into Q&A, I just want to quickly give a quick spiel on that. Hope that's okay. I've been working with ISF for 3 years, and what really appealed to me is that it kind of looked towards investing in human capital, investing in young minds in order to achieve our community's needs that many times we often put to the side. Since we're talking about education in our careers, we've noticed that as a community, we tend to focus on the STEM fields. We tend to focus on the fields that earn the most money because, again, with the financial debt that may be available and the incredible sacrifice needed to earn an education, the bottom line is always kept in mind. So ISF, since 2009, has tried to incentivize through merit-based scholarships, which is just one of the many tools in the tool belt that Brother Hamzah mentioned. These merit-based scholarships are meant to incentivize students who are working in either public interest law, in public policy, communications, media, journalism, film. There's a whole list of eligible majors on our website. And the idea is to, again, kind of carry and incentivize those people that sometimes, in those careers, there's kind of a myth that they earn less, which is not always true. And we've taken it one step further since then. And I think that, the name ISF or Islamic Scholarship Fund is a little bit misleading. Through a cycle of support, we've also added, through a program element of internships, fellowships, grants, and mentorship opportunities for people in that. So we've supported about 600 recipients thus far. We've given out, I believe, 3 million in scholarship money, or through awards or through these grants. And our scholarship application is open right now. So if you're someone who is interested in one of these fields, or if you're already in school and you're interested, or you know someone that's at school, please feel free to apply if you like to learn more. Oh, thank you so much, Brother Hamzah, for sharing in the chat. I don't have access to the chat for whatever reason, but I appreciate you sharing our website, and hopefully my email will be made available afterwards in case anyone has questions about ISF. But again, the goal is to just very simply kind of make the burden a little bit easier on our community. I think there's a misconception that not a lot of people are interested in political science or public policy. That's actually not true. It's the most common major among people from the MENA community, Middle East or North African. Surprise, surprise, probably because of the foreign policy of this country. But where we fall or where we fail is in the ability to help people who are graduates land on their feet and actually achieve a career. So that's where ISF is meant to step in this field and in many other fields. So thank you all for listening. I only see one question in the Q&A. And for those of you that were taking notes during Brother Hamzah's presentation, I believe he answered it. Is that not the reason for 5 before? Isn't that the name of the? Correct me if I'm wrong here, Hamzah, but is this just like the perfect setup ever for what 5 before is, or is it not?
Yeah, I guess so. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. I do see someone with their hand raised in the chat, but if it's easier if people could just put questions right into the Q&A,
I
maybe,
agree.
yeah, if that's possible. What was right? So oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were asking how to
Yeah, that was my way of
yeah,
in a smooth
bad.
way try to get you to answer the
I'm just
question.
seeing that
Sorry.
now. Sorry, my bad. So yeah, I mean, I tried to build into the name, as you said, starting 5 years before. But really, like I said, when it comes to college savings and so on, you can start that from a much earlier age. At the same time, I don't think you should let college suck all the oxygen out of your high schooler's life, right? Let them still be kids, and happy kids tend to also perform better. And I think a lot of Muslim families, sort of have that carpenter's mindset where they have, very specific goals, and there's like a blueprint that they're trying to, have their kids follow. And I think it's important to recognize that every student is their own person, and you want to give them some space during high school to really explore who they are. And at its best, the college application process can be just that. It's a way for students to really start thinking about themselves, seeing themselves from an outsider's perspective, and so on. So, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think we answered that question. No other questions have come in.
I think
People are asking in the chat if a recording will be available.
Yep.
Perhaps we can answer that
the
question.
recording will be available. And I'll try to put the links for all these different organizations. Brother Faizan, there was a question, I believe. Are the loans based on financial need or open to anyone?
Of course, the loans are open to anybody, it can apply. We look at 4 criteria when giving out loans. Number 1 is financial need of the student. Number 2 is merit, how well the student is doing in their studies. Number 3 is Islamic education. That doesn't mean you have to be an alim or hafiz, but do you take this religion seriously? Are you trying to, really practice your deen and be a good Muslim and try to become better? And number 4 is activism. That doesn't mean like protesting on the retreat. That just means, are you actively involved in your community, volunteering, things of that nature? Our application process is open from January the 1st till March the 31st every year. So it's just about to open up. We encourage everybody to visit our website and apply.
Thank you.
MashaAllah. And how many
tips for
students?
people? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brother Hamzah.
Sorry, I have questions because I've always wanted to learn more. I've pushed people ACC's way many times, but it's so exciting to actually meet you, and I'd love to get to know you better. But roughly how many scholarships do you give out each year, and what's the average award?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't give out scholarships per se. I think that's ISF that does mashallah
Right,
great
sorry.
job with that. But we
Loans,
give
my bad.
out loans, and alhamdulillah, this last year we gave out almost about 100 loans to students. The average loan amount is about $20,000 to students, and the average repayment is about 4 years. Now, those are all averages. Some students get a lot higher loans, some students only a few $100s. And then each loan repayment is really customized for the student. So we get in one-on-one meetings with the students. We try to figure out based on their income and their availability, how long it'll take them to pay it back. And then we create a loan repayment that works with that individual.
MashaAllah.
Somebody's asking if you offer loans for graduate students or people studying for their masters.
Alhamdulillah, we offer it for undergraduate, graduate, masters, and even PhD levels. And one thing that's very unique is we also refinance loans. So if a student has gone to college, they're working, they have a job, but they have like $50,000 worth of debt, we can pay off all of it or part of it. And then they pay us basically what they're paying off the bank. It's a really cool program. And inshallah, we encourage everybody to apply. The application cycle, again, is from the 1st to the 31st of January to March.
I had a question for just based on questions that I'm always asked at ISF. What would you recommend to someone who's potentially applying to keep in mind as they do apply? I'm sure you probably have a whole webinar. Maybe we should just maybe in a nutshell, in a sentence. I don't know if that's possible, but what would be your if you had a friend text you and say, "Hey, I'm applying for this loan. What do you recommend? What's the must do?" Or what's the most common pitfall on the application?
I think for us, our application cycle is a little bit rigorous simply because we're not only asking for a question that maybe you'd get for a scholarship, we're also asking for like financial records and also evidence that you're actually in a university. So I recommend do some basic work, which is, be ready to provide tax information for your family, be able to provide evidence that you're actually going to a school and the cost of the school. So, be able to provide that as well. And also important, make sure to get letters from reputable people within the Muslim community. We look at those very intensely because ultimately we want to provide these loans. As you can imagine, even non-Muslims, if they have a choice between zero interest loans versus interest loans, they'll even choose zero interest loans, right? It's a no-brainer. So what we're trying to do is we're really trying to hyper-focus on those Muslim students. They're really active in their Muslim community. They really want to give back. That are at the masajid, that are working at the MSAs. That's the type of student we really want to fund. And I would recommend, if you're considering applying, January 1st, look at the application cycle. It's all online. You can save all the documents that you need with it as well. You can start and then come back to it. And it's comprehensive, but it's not too challenging. I think if you're able to get those documents beforehand, it'll help you out a lot.
Thank you so much, Brother Parvez. Since you're I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm mistaken, the mastermind behind bringing everyone here together. Do you have any questions?
Well, I think the biggest questions I have is that there is so much information out there. And I think Sister Amira, Brother Hamzah has shared some of that information with our people. And just in terms of strategizing the college process, but I think more importantly, financial literacy, which you guys have touched on. And we're, again, very grateful for what ACC is doing, very grateful for what ISF is doing. But at the end of the day, I mean, I shared an article with Brother Hamzah. There is a big crisis out there in terms of student loan crisis. So, and I'm convinced that many Muslims are knee deep in third generation loans, just like the rest of America. So I mean, the purpose of this was to help our people familiarize with the application process, but I think more critically, not fall into the inevitable trap of student loans, which is just very difficult when you think of a state school. And we're in New Jersey. If you go to state school in New Jersey, your all-in costs out of the door would be probably 40 grand. If you go to a private school outside the state, it would probably be 80, and I now read 90 grand. So it's just very, very difficult to be able to come out whole. And so that was the reason why I wanted to bring this panel together, to just, open access to our people. And again, this is even before Palestine and everything else, when we know it's going to be even harder for our people now to be viewed positively and constructively in the world. So we need experts like you to help our people, future-proof their careers, inshallah.
Right.
Let me see one more question in the Q&A.
There was a question, sorry, that
there are a
I
few.
ordered from the chat. Someone was asking about strategy to go to community college and then four-year college. If you guys
exactly. We haven't heard from Sister Amira in a while. Would you like to chime in?
Sure. So not many of our students go to community colleges. They usually apply to regular four-year colleges, but I would suggest, if a student is struggling and their GPA is under 3.0, I do talk to the students, and it's rare that we have any students like that, but I would suggest going to a community college, finishing the first 2 years there, and then transferring back into a four-year college. So just to bring their GPA up.
I do have something to add here as well. We have evidence. The person is not on this call right now, but we have evidence of people who, kind of converse to what Sister Amira said, who actually have outstanding grades, but sadly cannot afford to go to four-year colleges. And so they actually went to community colleges. And I've seen research from Princeton University, because we are in Princeton, that shows that these elite universities are actually actively going out because they historically their feeder schools have been, the elite prep schools.
Yes.
So in order to diversify their classes, they're intently going out and now have a quota to take from community colleges. And I know empirically of someone who went to our local community college very well, and she has a full ride of
Mashallah.
to Princeton University. She got in a program with 0.9% acceptance rate.
Mashallah.
So that's that's an alternative strategy.
Yeah, it could go either way. Yeah.
Could actually, even if you have very good grades, you can
Yeah.
on the community
Yeah,
college.
they mostly tend to go, where their friends are going or where everybody else is applying to. So it's kind of like, I'm not going to community college only if I have to, for most of our students. But yeah, I agree. If you can go to community college, you are taking the same courses, electives, and it's you save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. I would say, like I said before, I think one way to do both is really to look into dual enrollment options while you're still in high school. And then you essentially are going to community college. You're getting those credits. You're knocking off the time. Essentially, instead of doing those 2 years and then transferring for 2 years, you're doing that while you're still in high school, and you graduate even faster. You hit the working world even faster. So that's another option. But definitely, it's a strategy that many people use. There is a danger. There's some statistic that something like only 23% of the people who say that they're going to end up transferring to a 4-year college actually end up doing so. A lot of times in community college, you often start working and things like that, and you just sort of get sucked away from the just the college atmosphere. That's why I think some of these strategies of being a big fish in a small pond and getting this merit aid or these discounts that colleges are offering to make it more affordable often make a lot of sense. I think one big piece is a lot of Muslims are very unwilling to look outside of their immediate geographic area. So they don't take advantage of the geographic arbitrage that you get. When you're from New England applying to a school in the South, then you look different than the other candidates, and there's more of a chance that they're actually going to give you money to come. So that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, the decision of whether to live off campus or live at home is a huge one, and there's lots of differing points of view, and I've seen good outcomes and bad outcomes from both choices. But if it is something that your family is willing to consider, then that's another really good way to potentially be able to go to a 4-year college without breaking the bank.
Great feedback. We're suddenly getting a lot of questions, but I don't know how many of them are actually questions, but just want to quickly get to that. Just want to say, if you're from Southern California, and I know other states are starting to adopt this, there's a possibility to test out early. You test out early of high school, and you're welcome to go to community college. And many people go to community college at schools that they have a deal with a local UC, so UCLA, UC Irvine, or even USC, a private university. And so as long as you maintain a minimum GPA, you're guaranteed admission at one of these universities. So there are people that are done with college before they're even 20. And, as long as they maintain that, 3.5 or 4.0 while they're in community college, and they're able to save the money as well. But outstanding grades are definitely a part of the equation. So we're running out of time. Just want to see if there's any questions here we can quickly answer. I'm going to answer the one about subscription-based scholarship. I think, Hamzah, if you can chime in, but I would really recommend starting with FastWeb. It's free. And I believe there was a list of other services on your presentation that you'll be sharing.
Yeah, I did share the link to it. I'm just putting some of them in the chat right now as I get them, but they are within my presentation. I put them towards the bottom. I'd say the best scholarship finder is actually Google. Even better, these things are good, but they are overwhelming. There's so many of them out there. But just Googling things. Also look at your own companies. If you work in corporate America, often your companies might have scholarships and other programs. And it's also sometimes you can take advantage of sort of the nosy neighbors and people who are always asking questions about it. Ask them, yeah, actually, I do have a question. Do you know of any scholarships that are available? And there's often like the Rotary Club, or there's some other sort of smaller things. So just really taking advantage and asking that question very frequently. I've come across things that I'd never heard of just by having that line of questioning. But there's My Scholarly. Islamic Development Bank has a really interesting scholarship. That's another thing that Muslims can look into. A lot of people just go after the ones that everyone's heard of, like the Coca-Cola scholarship and things like that. QuestBridge, and none of us have mentioned QuestBridge. That's an amazing program, more for low-income families, where it's a separate application, and then the students put sort of their top 10 colleges, and then the college they rank them, and then the colleges rank the students, and if there's a match there, then the student ends up getting in that way. The student who I mentioned who got the full ride to Notre Dame, she had applied through QuestBridge, so that's a really wonderful program as well.
Good to know.
Yeah,
good to know. Yeah, there's definitely a prestige with Koch Foundation or Koch Scholars, which we hope to learn from.
right. But it's right.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
know
there's
you're,
it's so
you're,
difficult.
what is it? The big the pond. What was the analogy? Being a big fish in a small pond is
Yeah.
better than being a normal sized fish in a.
Right.
So I see what you're saying. We're almost out of time, or we are out of time. Is it okay?
So in terms of time, I'm happy to stick around as necessary, but yeah, but certainly we can cut it off if necessary. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brother Faizan. Thank you for joining. We'll connect with you at a later time.
For whoever was asking about the policy scholarship, it's just one of many scholarships we provide at ISF. I believe it was shared in the chat, www.islamicscholarshipfund.org. Our application is live. So if you have questions about your application, I wish I could share my email in the chat. I'm always welcome to emails. I'm so sorry. I don't know why that happened. But
I can.
It's funny because I feel.
I'll find your email and then I will.
Thank you so much, Hamzah. Hamzah is like messaging on my behalf. I feel so terribly sorry, but. Okay, jumping into the next question. We're seeing some questions that are more like, I guess, career counseling or counseling focused. Is there any Islamic organization that helps students specifically with engineering or pre-med majors with scholarships? Not to my knowledge, not an Islamic organization, but I believe ISNA at one point was providing scholarships, so I don't know if they still are, and I don't think that they were strictly for the non-STEM fields. So I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in on that.
Yeah, I mean, so again, I would say that's a something to Google, to go on to FastWeb, to go on to My Scholarly, to go on to Going Merry is another one. Sorry, I ran out of steam posting all these links, but they're all in my presentation. So again, that nouns list. So engineering, it sounds like, is one of your nouns. Pre-med is one of your nouns. But then, yeah, trying to get as specific as possible, into qualities that maybe aren't as common. That's one of the ways to find the scholarships that that really match you.
Sadly, the reason why ISF exists is because the founder Googled, or what was Google at that time, Islamic scholarship in America, and there wasn't any. But many other faith-based communities, there's so many options. So until now, I don't know of many others providing merit-based scholarships. Happy that ACC exists for the interest-free loans, but the scholarship money isn't, there isn't that many options out there. So as Brother Hamzah said, I would sadly focus on your other nouns, I'm sure there's some money to be found there.
There was a question in the chat a while back. Do you have resources for USA residents without green card or citizenship? So one of the links that I put in my presentation was from College Essay Guy. It's this international hub. So he's put together tons of resources for international students. The long and the short of it is extremely difficult to unlock money if you do not have a social security number. If you're an international student or you're on an H4 visa, you know, as a child of someone with an H1, it's a challenge. There are certain schools that offer scholarships. They tend to be the you know, the elite schools. So if you at the extreme you're able to get into an Ivy League school or something like that, then there's a good chance that you would get funding from those schools. But for most of the other schools, you know, there are limited funds. But that's a simplified answer. There is nuance to it, and the College Essay Guy put more stuff in there than I could possibly you know, ever cover. So I can try to again, maybe I'll just put the link to my presentation again. It'll be easier than keeping on you know, doing all these separate links.
I'm sure there will be a post event email with all of these resources. So for those in the chat that are worried about their question being missed, I'm sure it will be answered there. I see one last question in the Q&A asking about oh, I believe this isn't the question I'm thinking of. I believe it was answered by someone else through a text, but it was about what was the question about? Well, I guess we can just walk past that one. I don't see it here anymore. I believe somebody else has answered it, which is I'm thankful for. Okay, I think
yeah, it looks
I
like
think now's a good time to end if everyone agrees.
Yes, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I mean, inshallah, you get great turnout and great engagement. So inshallah, hopefully we'll be able to bring this esteemed panel together again, you know, at some point, inshallah.
Inshallah, that sounds great. That sounds
Very
great.
grateful for
Sorry, Brother Pervez, one last thing. There's another institution that I think you're familiar with, D-Finance. Could you?
Yes, I tried to invite Brother Farouk, but I could not get him time.
Could you just mention? I think you know more about them.
Okay, yeah. So D-Finance is a startup company. Brother Farouk Siddiqui is the startup founder of D-Finance. We tried to get his time. He's busy. Actually, he's a native of right here in Princeton. And so it's a similar story to ACC, if you will, where they also give scholarship, and they have a pretty large book of business. And they also, so ACC is like a charity, but D-Finance is actually the pool of capital that they get is investor pool of capital. So people actually put money, and you know, they actually, you know, believe that, hey, at the end of the day, these Muslims are hungry, they're going to do well in the real world. So we can therefore assume that, you know, there will be kind of a good return on the money that we give them, right? So basically, you could invest in D-Finance, and then D-Finance take your money and then over time give you some return, but actually give that money to the students in need, kind of a Sharia compliant type of loan understanding that they have with the students. And so Brother Farouk Siddiqui is the founder. We tried to get them, but I guess he's been very busy. I was not able to get him here.
I have a meeting with him next week, alhamdulillah, and it's an from what I understand, it's an income sharing agreement. So essentially, you make an agreement ahead of time, so they're sort of taking a bet on the student that they're going to, inshallah, do well. It's a good way of sort of aligning incentives and things like that. And like you said, it can be an investment opportunity. You know, but I really think you know, these are initiatives, ACC, D-Finance, all these sorts of things, ISF that we you know, really need to support. You know, this financial aid question with Muslims is usually at the very, very forefront. And I think as a community, we need to step up and support these. It's a really good source of charity or investment. So, inshallah.
So mashallah, very grateful for all of your time. Very grateful for ISF, Brother Omar, to moderate. Sister Amira from Nur Ul-Iman. It's been well worth waiting for over a year, mashallah, to make this happen. And Brother Hamzah, Jazakallah khair for all the insights. So inshallah, perhaps Brother Hamzah, you could make a dua to close, and then inshallah we'll reconvene in the not too distant future.
All right. Bismillah.
Jazakallah khairan.
جزاك الله خير sister. يا أول الأولين يا آخر الآخرين يا ذو القوة المتين يا راحم المساكين يا أرحم الراحمين يا Allah. Ya Allah, you please accept this gathering. Ya Allah, you please put khair and barakah in these efforts. Ya Allah, you please help all the Muslim youth achieve success, both in this dunya, but most importantly in the akhirah. Ya Allah, you please let us all serve you with ihsan. Ya Allah, and you please give us success في الدنيا والآخرة. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. بسم الله. الحمد لله.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
barakatuh.
Great.